Her 6-year-old son earlier this year. Now we are looking closer at what she told police when the doors were closed and the cameras were rolling. James Hutchinson died in late February. His mother, Brittany Gosney, just went to prison for at least the next 21 years. Last night at 11 o'clock, the I-Team's Sean Cuddy first walked us through parts of Gosney's interrogation video. Sean's back with a closer look for you this afternoon and the lies she told and then how police got her to tell the truth. Sean?
James, this went on for Middletown Police Department on Sunday, February 28th. We now know James had been dead more than 24 hours at that point. Now, as a reminder, 6-year-old James died after Gosney took her children to Preble County's Rush Run Wildlife Area. She was planning to abandon her children, but James grabbed onto her moving car as she drove away. He got dragged and died. Gosney then took his body home and then, along with her boyfriend James Hamilton, dumped little James's body in the Ohio River. Both Gosney and Hamilton have been convicted. They are guilty of these crimes, and that is what we now know happened. But I want to take you back to the time of this interrogation. At the time, police know something's wrong. Here at this point, you're going to see that James is missing, but they're still trying to figure out what exactly happened. As you'll see, Gosney starts by trying to tell a lie that James just disappeared, and she claimed her boyfriend woke her up concerned about where James was.
He came back and woke me up and he was like, "You know James is gone?" I was like, "What?" And I was like, "No, I thought he was upstairs asleep."
There's something going on here. Something's not right here. I've done this, like I said, I've interviewed hundreds of people over my career, and you know, people get scared, they get themselves backed into a corner and they don't know what to do.
Sean, police clearly didn't believe her story. And you know, you told me this afternoon that lying went on for the better part of 2 hours.
Yeah, there were long breaks at times, James, but it was close to 2 hours, to your point, before police started to get some semblance of the truth out of Gosney. Detectives ended up telling her her boyfriend was in another interrogation room at the police department and said that he had admitted to dumping James's body in the Ohio River. So they just asked her questions about that.
James has told me that body was on top of the bridge, okay, that you guys went together to do that this morning. Is it the Ohio River? Is that what we're talking about, or where?
It's between Indiana and Kentucky.
And again, it turned out to be Lawrenceburg is where they said they did this. And Sean, as you can see, she answered the question and shared some knowledge of where they had left James. Of course, police have never been able to find his body. And Gosney goes on to explain how James died, and she ended up bringing him back to their house. So again, quite a story as this interrogation went on.
Yeah, just continued to evolve over hours here. You know, she explained how little James, as we now know, grabbed onto the handle of her car as she drove away. His head hit the ground and he died. She explains this. Now, she initially said she left him at the Preble County Park, his body, and then admitted she actually took him back to their Middletown house.
I laid him on the floor.
Okay.
The bare floor.
Mm-hmm.
And he took him upstairs.
James took him upstairs
And put him in the bedroom.
What time was it?
I want to say like a couple minutes once I got back and carried him in. He took him upstairs and put him in the bedroom.
And again, that was before Gosney and her boyfriend, James Hamilton, took him to the Ohio River and dumped him, as we just spoke about. You know, James, I mentioned this last night at 11 o'clock. I remember detectives, some of those early police reports, talking about how calm she was as she's describing something so terrible here.
And I think early on, Sean, you and I talked about this as well. Her attorney initially said that, you know, there was a mental competency issue here, that she didn't know what she was doing, what she was saying. But, you know, nevertheless, looking at the hours of interrogation, you know, I would question whether that was indeed the case. And they never used that as an argument or a defense before she finally pleaded guilty.
Yeah, you heard her put together this, you know, I guess you could call it an elaborate story early on. But clearly this detective, and he talks about it a number of times, he's done this for a long time, these cases involving children, and he just was poking holes in her story and saying, you know, you're all over the place. We heard him say a number of times.
And I think what folks might not remember is that 2 of his siblings were in that car at some point when she she initially left him there at the Preble County Park.
Yeah, certainly just a tragic situation here.
Yeah. All right. Sean Cudahy live. Thank you for that perspective this afternoon, Sean. And of course, Gosney, as I said just a few minutes ago, is going to serve at least 21 years in prison. Hamilton is expected to learn his punishment